Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. I don't want to do this one today. I don't think you guys want to hear this one that much today, and I know that's not the way to start a YouTube video, but I think the special thing about this podcast is that, or what's different about this podcast from most other podcasts, period, as well as especially in the Star Citizen community, is a big part of the Answer the Call podcast is it's about your opinions, and it's about some of mine, but we discuss them amongst ourselves, and that I usually tend to change my opinion after hearing what you guys have to say, because I feel more informed. I agree with some of the things that you say, and it kind of changes my mind. I've only made content on my opinion on the roadmap, and I haven't done what Answer the Call is meant for, and it's to platform members of the community who aren't streamers, who aren't YouTubers, who don't have the advantage of having some people at CIG's ear in that case, because they do watch this show and things like that. I feel blessed for that, but I think what is special and what makes the show so unique is giving you that platform. And the topic of the roadmap and what came out a couple weeks ago is what this show was made for. I had already planned out the Zero State podcast from last week, so when the roadmap drama was at its height, I didn't pivot and make it for the views and just tell Zero to wait another week. I was looking forward to having that conversation, and the people who watched that show really enjoyed it and had some amazing and nice comments on there. Again, my feeling on the roadmap is it's there's two aspects of it. It's the actual actions of the changes, which are taking out the far out release view and only keeping it 1 quarter ahead, which is what most game development studios do, is they say this is what our next patch is going to be, and then they work towards that next patch, and that's it. The other side of it is pushing us towards the progress tracker, which doesn't indicate any progress at all. It just indicates what a schedule is for certain devs or for certain teams and what features they're working on. The accountability side of things, again, as I've said on many of my other outlets, on the Twitch stream, on the second channel, on the first channel, is that there is no accountability with Star Citizen. Their entire being exists around not being accountable. Their funding model exists around not being accountable. And if you ever think that you had any accountability on the way they communicate, the way they fund the game, you don't. The only thing that you have any sort of kind of accountability for is when giving feedback and hopefully being able to help make the game a better, more fun experience. I think that's all that we have. I don't think we have anything other than that. So the people who thought the roadmap and showing their plans further out was going to be a way for you to keep them accountable, it's not. It was just a way for you to complain about what they're doing. I mean, that's it. It's a way for you to get mad, and it's not a way for you to ever really get happy. It's a way for you to get excited and then get disappointed and therefore get mad. So there was never any point to it in the first place. There was no wins there. There was only losses, so it made sense to not do it at all. That's my opinion on that. Then the communication side of the roadmap changes was absolutely terrible. They blame us for their issues in some aspects. They communicated the fact that the roadmap was really being used, at least to some extent, for marketing. That's not good either, right? So in general, I think it was terrible, and but I think the actions were the right ones. I think they made the right choices, and I think we're going to see a lot less drama and upsetness around the roadmap in the future. I think less people aren't willing to look into the progress tracker as much as they would look down a few cards to see what's coming, right? So I think it's going to hide what they're doing a little bit more, which is what they should be doing in the first place, because they weren't hiding what they were doing. I think they were hiding what their grandiose plans were. And now they're just showing you what they're doing for the most part. But even the progress tracker is problematic. The other thing that I do want to touch on, if you guys want to, is the icons that showed up on SCL, or excuse me, on ISC this week. There was a wide variety of icons. I mean, I think people focused on a certain one, which just, to be funny. But if you really look at it, I look at it this way, is show me you're putting skills and grinding in Star Citizen without saying that you're putting in skills, right? So how I look at it, and I think that it could be really cool, and this is just my opinion, it's very much theory crafting, and nothing is solid on this at all, is there was such variety there that what I hope for this system to be is that you have to work your way in a certain path to the point where it's very difficult to be able to work your way in all of them. And to some extent, if you work your way into one, you might have negative affinity with another one, so you wouldn't be able to the point where we are going to need each other, right? What we know about Star Citizen's economy is it's very much based in the 9 NPCs versus the one of us. So the NPCs are mostly going to be dealing with the economic aspects of the game. But when it comes to trading between each other, using each other, this seems like it's going to be the system for that. And that's what's kind of exciting. So if I'm proficient in, I don't know, mining or cargo missions, there may be PvPers that need aspects or rewards or the unlocks or something that comes from building up your rep in those systems, which they may not be willing to take the time out to do, that I would be useful for them. And then there's might be some unlocks and usefulness that they might be useful for me. And then there would be a reason for us to come together and work together or trade together, something like that. That's how I look at that. So that is my very long intro into this. Now to the point of Answer the Call. And anybody who's in Twitch chat right now, anybody who's watching on YouTube, Answer the Call happens Sunday mornings around 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It's 10:13 in the morning right now. And you guys can join the show. Twitch.tv/SaltEMike and Discord.gg/SaltEMike. There's an Answer the Call section, and you guys can find that in the Discord. If the mods want, they can bring it up to the top. Right now, it's towards the bottom. If one of the mods that can do that for me, that would be awesome. And you guys can pop into the green room and then join the show. So Sunday mornings is when we do it. And if anybody has any feelings about either of those topics, wants to discuss them at any length, today's the day to do it. So hopefully the show is going to be around an hour, hour and a half. And yeah, hopefully we have some good discussions on all sides of it. And yeah, hopefully it's good discussions are differing opinions. So looking forward to it. All right, our first caller is Scuba Steve. Scuba, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Mike. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm definitely in a bit of a funk when it comes to Star Citizen, I would say. Trying to find my way, I would say, with it. Oh, I still have zero state up there.
I've been facing similar challenges myself as of late.
Oh, yeah? It's tough.
It's, when you log in, it's like, I just want something to do, or I want something to work for, and lately it's been a bit lackluster. So,
yeah, and I think some people want those things and others don't. So I get the sense that I guess you and I probably want very similar things, but I don't, or some people don't. Like I want that grind, but when I see other people in my like comment sections and stuff like that on, like, let's say YouTube or something, people tend to just be like, man, I like Star Citizen because it's pretty, or I like it because it feels like it's going to be the next Second Life or something, and that's not necessarily the game we're looking for. But
yeah, you can have an open world and you can do whatever you want, but it's always nice to have things to pursue.
Yes.
While you're in there, versus just flying around and saying, "Hey, it looks pretty" and stuff like that, or or just missions that are similar, but
Yeah.
actually having an objective or something to work for, or like you were saying earlier, if it's the mining rep or if it's the bounty hunting rep, and it unlocks certain things, it just gives you stuff to work for, whether it be loot or better missions or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Like, and when I say grind, I always say grind in a positive way. I think grind can be used negatively and positively, but I think grinds
Oh
are
yeah.
good as long as they're not like so obnoxious or purposefully made to force you to, I don't know, buy boosts or things like that, like what some I don't know, like mobile games would do or whatever, right? I look at grinds in like what in the same way that you say it, in a purposeful, giving the player purpose, because the game's beautiful, but man, I would love to have a game in it. I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. When as long as it's not a complete, there's some MMOs out there where it is a time sink, and the only reason it's a massive time sink is they want you to buy something to bypass that time sink. As long as it's not like that and there's purpose to it, it's
Yeah.
perfectly fine. It's another lever you can pull if you want to.
There's other MMOs that it's a time sink because they want you to play the game for years. And that's part of it. Like, there's an MMO called Albion Online that I think is really good, but I can't dedicate the time to it. So when I do play it, I just play it like a mobile game, and I kind of just I just do like crafting and low level crafting and just like make money, and it's literally a mobile game to me. But other people play it and like grind it hardcore, and I don't know if like looking at that rep icons, what's the like what will it take to get to the highest rank? Obviously none of us know, but when you look at grinding up to the highest levels of skill in most MMOs, that's not usually the longest sync. The longest sync is grinding for items, things like that, and I don't know if that's Star Citizen, you know?
Yeah, I think grinding probably more for rep or working towards higher payout missions is probably more Star Citizen. And I'd be curious how they would do it, because right now we have organizational reputation, and with the, I guess, trades or skill reputation, how they would align or how they would be connected. Like if you do a job for one org and you get good with them, maybe you get more of a bonus or
Yeah.
something along those lines. But I think
Yeah.
it's a good thing, like that they're considering it. I think it's a good thing. We all know that it may turn out completely different, but at least it's being considered, or some gameplay elements are being considered.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing is that many are being considered on either side. So there was a lot of what would be called, I think, determined as like unlawful type paths to take. And yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think it's because they care to have both sides, and I think that they want to make sure that things are interesting. But
The folks who want to do the unlawful stuff, they need something to do too, and it always just kind of takes me back to Privateer. If you could get in good with the pirates and they wouldn't shoot you,
yeah,
or you could get in good with the Killerafi and they wouldn't shoot you, and the org rep is like that. But I definitely think it needs that, and people who want the unlawful stuff, they need something to do other than, hey, come wreak havoc at Xenofred or something like that. That they're bored. That's why they're doing that.
yeah. I mean, what else is there to do?
Yeah,
Do you have
exactly.
anything on the roadmap stuff that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, the roadmap. I know it's your favorite topic, and
I hate it.
you've barely been breaching the discussion. I'm glad we could have this today. But for the roadmap, I generally, my perspective is somewhat aligned with yours. I think modifying the cards or the release view to 1/4 was probably for the best,
Yeah,
because it essentially, it gives them a greater chance of making their projections or what they think's going to be there, and
it
it's more
manages
realistic.
expectations.
Exactly. Because for me, you and I have been around here a long time. I know if I see something 4/4 out, I'm like, yeah, 10% chance that's happening. Maybe. So I think the release view at least kind of tunes that a bit better,
Yeah.
which is a good thing. And I predominantly stay in the release view. So I think that aspect is good. I think the way it was communicated was exceptionally poor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it kind of got up there along with the selling tickets for CitizenCon things, or there was no, digital CitizenCon viewership. It kind of ranked up there in terms of mistakes. But I think the other aspect, I'm trying to think what I'm saying. Yeah, the other aspect is that there was no saying, "Hey, yes, there have been some unreasonable problems, but at the same time, we are willing to admit that we contributed to some of that."
Yeah.
And if they had done that, it would have been significantly better, like, the Aaron video, or um, displaying things in a state, like the marketing aspects, displaying things in a state where, oh yeah, it's playable and stuff like that. Yeah, I think there's they have some accountability for how things got shaped.
Yeah.
And I think if they at least had said something along those lines, it would have gone over better.
Yeah.
But it came off as very abrasive, blunt, and I don't think you can do that in PR type stuff. Like, the changes, great, no problems, but the way they went about it, not so much.
Yeah, I have to agree. Now, what do you think about this? And this is from somebody in Twitch chat. If you guys are Redditors, this name will look familiar. But Rain Walker mentioned this, and I meant to say it in my intro, but I totally forgot. And this is his idea, but I think it's actually very interesting when you think about it. Even though they're taking the grand ideas off of the roadmap for the whole year, you have Jared going on ISC and SEL talking about the road to pyro. And they're essentially doing the same things on ISC and SEL ISC is, all he's saying is this is the road to pyro. Nearly everything that was outside of the next quarter was all grand road to pyro things. And then he goes on SEL and says, by the way, guys, I said it's the road to pyro. Doesn't mean you're getting pyro this year. And it's just like, dude, come on with this stuff. Just stop. It's so, I don't know what to do. I don't envy their position. It's a garbage position to be in, because they put these people out in front. They put the developers, and they put Jared, and they put Jake, and they put everybody in there to take all the bullets and to make all the content to create the funding for the game, right? And people like Chris and Aaron and Sandy and the lawyer guy or whoever, none of those guys get on camera and take any of the heat. None of it. But they're still saying and doing the same things. They're just doing them on ISC, and it's nothing changes. There's no accountability. It's always and forever going to be what this is, and that's why I just focus on giving feedback for the current game experience and trying to make that as good as it can be, because these guys are a creation of their own success and failures, is how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree. They're definitely a victim of their own success.
Yeah.
With this funding model. That's essentially the whole premise of this funding model, and you've said this before, is that it's based on lack of accountability. There is no publisher, there is no stockholder pushing them to make a release. Maybe in Squadron there's an investor, and maybe that person is.
Oh, but he's getting paid. I'm glad he's getting paid, but we're not getting delivered a product to play. But I'm super happy he's getting his money. Good for him.
Yeah, but unfortunately, this is a side. Yeah, like I said, it's a side effect of this model, and the only accountability that they do have is when enough noise gets made where some response is given. And they could change direction. They may not change direction. It's only soliciting a response to feedback is the only level of accountability we have, and whether it's truly accountability or peace, kind of making peace.
Yeah,
It's just not there.
We'll see on Wednesday, because the roadmap came out, and for the most part, it's been complete silence on this. No apologies, nothing. It's just it can't, like, it's kind of nice to do this 2 weeks later. Like, Wednesday's the next roadmap update. What's the tone going to be there?
I'd be very interested, or maybe they just need to get a senior stakeholder out front of it and say, hey guys, look, have one of those kind of either big posts or preferably a video post, from Chris or someone high up that says, all right, guys, this is why we did it. We admit we've got some responsibility for this situation. We're going to do better, or just something. There's something to say, we acknowledge what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, that
would be useful.
I also look at it like they're human too. Like I think this was, obviously Jake had a big part in this, and he's the roadmap guy, so I don't know how he couldn't. And they take pride in what they do, and if people don't like what they do, it gets you. Like, I'm human too, and I take pride in what I do, and when people make like mean comments in YouTube, if you don't think it gets to me to some extent, of course it does. It absolutely does. And it's one of those things where, you got to shrug it off your shoulders and move on. But like, I definitely comment right back to those people sometimes, screenshot it, share it in Discord, and try and make a joke of it or whatever. That's how I deal with those situations. Is that appropriate? Probably not. The appropriate thing would be just to ignore those people. But that gets hard sometimes, and I think this was like the straw that broke the camel's back here. It just bothers me that it was their failure, and the people who were lashed out to, instead of saying, we messed up, it was like the community messed up. It was like, what? That was the part that just didn't make sense.
It didn't, especially when you and I have been around this road a long time. But, like there's mutual responsibility here. Yeah. Although, like, I would probably say maybe it's a 70-30 split, because some people are following expectations that were inadvertently set. I agree with you. There was no such thing as a promise. There was no guarantees. There was none of that.
Never.
Absolutely not. But I just think expectations were misaligned by some of the content that they were putting out. And especially when that content's on video, it's extremely easy to go back and say, well, you guys said this, and they don't have a leg to stand on. Or if they at least updated and said, guys, we're going to have to revise expectations. Here's where we are. That would be okay. But it's just all of a sudden changing course and saying, well, it's all the noise is a distraction, and there's no admitting that there's some mutual responsibility here. The other thing on the roadmap piece is the emphasis on the progress tracker. The progress tracker is not a roadmap. I know you and I share this. It's not a roadmap. It's
not even a progress tracker, dude.
No, not at all. You can't even tell what's been done. It's a Gantt chart. Like, I'm in project management. It is a Gantt chart on resources being scheduled. And you don't even see the progression of the tasks. Like you said, there's no roll up to say this has led to this, or this task was complete. There's no historical archive to say, yep, this was done. The bar is green. We completed it. Way to go. There's not that. And then with all the emphasis on Squadron, there's no release view to Squadron or no roadmap to Squadron. And that is a completely separate, it's separate, but at the same time with Squadron, it faces the same hurdles. Okay, we're putting everything into Squadron, but there's no overall status report on what is the state of Squadron. We've got these milestones to clear out. We have these issues to clear. We're X% complete. If they got out there every quarter and at least did that, that would be nice. But the progress tracker doesn't give me anything. It's just a schedule. And with, like I said, with Squadron, if Chris came out every quarter and said something, it would be a bit more meaningful. At least there'd be something, because I know I've made comments on some of our content creators' videos, and they're like, well, we got the monthly tracker. We've got the monthly progress report. I'm like, the monthly progress report is like looking at the in progress view and saying what went into that little bar. It doesn't tell you what
Yeah.
the overall state of things are. And that's the thing with on the squadron side is that monthly report. It's fantastic. It's a deep delve into the individual nitty gritty tasks, development, and what took place and what work was accomplished. But there's no big roll up that says, all right, we're 85% complete, or we've got, if we fix this, we're almost there. There's nothing like that. It's just a deep delve into what went into those little progress bars. And like you said, the biggest issue with the progress tracker, it doesn't track progress. It's just poorly named.
Yeah,
Maybe if
but
they
then they
called it
like
the
legitimately, like, that was their whole, like, guys, we're showing progress, like that's what this is about. Like, they used the word progress like it was actually showing progress. Like, what?
yeah,
450 plus items, which, like,
yeah, it's noise. It's a bunch
AI
of noise.
bartenders and, like, okay, come on.
At least if I were to drill into that and they would say, like I said, AI bartender, we are 95% complete. This team's task is 95% complete. Well done.
Yeah, they used to show tasks, remember, on the roadmap?
Yeah, I remember that. But now it's just it kind of reminds me. Have you ever seen those movies where, like, lawyers are going after each other and they send over like 3 box trucks of documents to confuse people? Sometimes it almost seems like that. It's just there's so much stuff here, but there's no meaning into it. At least for the layman, I'm sure there's probably, and I know you have folks who do development in your chat, and they're a bit more in tune with what's going on. I'm not a developer. I'm a project manager.
Yeah.
So it's completely different. But not being able to see percentage of completion and what those tasks roll into, what the milestones are created from those tasks, and what the final output is. That's probably the biggest thing with the progress tracker. What is the final output of this task?
Yep. Why does it matter to me?
Exactly. Like, what does it mean for me in terms of what's going on my client? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think maybe that's where people talk about, like, accountability or whatever, and why the roadmap should do those things. But the thing is the roadmap never did them in the first place. Like, yes, we should have a roadmap that holds them accountable in a way to be like, these are the tasks that reach this goal, and we would like to see that goal achieved at some point. We all know there's going to be hurdles. We all know there's going to be slowdowns. We all know there's going to be bugs. We all know there's going to be issues. But at least I know at the end of the day, it's these tasks to get there, at least for the most part. And, I think when it came to the networking and getting more players in a server and all those things, that those tasks, they try to achieve them, they fail, and then they have to go back to the drawing board and try again. And 4 years later, we're still here with 40, 50 players in a server. So it is what it is, but
yeah, and I look forward to the day when they can go beyond that and they solve some of these server meshing issues, and to at least extend that, because I'm in IT and server clustering and stuff. It's a challenging endeavor, even just in business stuff, game stuff, where stuff's changing all the time. I'm sure it's a huge challenge.
yeah.
But I look forward to that. But with any project that I take on, we always ask ourselves, what is the end result? What are we delivering? And how can we report the progress to the client? And I think if CIG adapted that, or took that in and at least said, the ultimate output of this task will be this, or if they had a milestone roll up, all these tasks together equal that. If they did that, it at least, I think it'd be more of a semblance of a progress tracker versus a schedule.
I don't think they know what the end goal is in a lot of cases when it comes to designs of certain systems, and that's why they just throw up this, like, tier 0 shitty version of things. And
yeah, and at this point, this many years in, that's a problem. That is a fundamental problem. And maybe there's something in the back room and we have no clue what it is. Maybe. But if you don't know the end result, what are you working towards? It's like, it's hoping for the best, which you can't really do that. You have to have a plan. And I understand in their case, there's a lot of R&D and you don't know what you don't know. There's no problem there, but you at least have to be able to map out, like, what am I trying to achieve here?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. What is that vision in Chris's head? It needs to be somewhere.
I'm sure it's there. I just wish he would come talk to us a bit. Like maybe if he sat, like I said, once a quarter, sat down and kind of did, and don't say any dates, don't do any kind of the stuff Chris is famous for, but just say like, yep, here's where we are, guys. Here's what's going on, and here's what we're thinking, and just keep it on script and move on. But yeah, I'm just concerned that this many years in that there's like you, if there's no plan, what are we doing?
Exactly. Yeah.
And Squadron, I hope there's a plan. They're better. It's a single player game. I hope there's a significant plan and it's concrete and everything will be great. But yeah, maybe they do have a good plan and maybe there's just no solid communication or no mechanism to communicate that plan. Maybe they've got to do it some way, somehow. I don't know. And maybe that's kind of more roadmappy. That's the forward looking stuff where you have a thing that says, yeah, here's where we want to go. Kind of like the pillars back in something like that. At least it didn't say when it was happening, or maybe it did and they missed it, one of those, but at least saying, here's where we're going to be, or here's where I think we're going to land. I don't know when we're going to land there, but this is the vision. Chris is a visionary type of guy. I think he's more visionary than integrator.
Sure.
So I definitely think if he at least said, all right, here's where we're going, this is the vision that I see, and then maybe periodically say quarterly check-in, progress, all right, here's how close we are to the vision.
This will make sense, I promise. When was the last time you bought a spaceship?
Oh, gosh, probably about 6 months ago.
Okay. Do you think, and this is what I think, because I don't buy them really anymore either, is we're done funding for the most part. I am done funding.
Yeah.
And my interest is no longer in the new shiny thing. My interest is in playing the actual game now. My interest has been in that for basically the entire time, and people never like that, but I don't really care. It's always what's interests me is tell me about the game. Tell me exactly how I'm going to play this game so I know whether or not I'm going to like it. And that's a problem for them because we don't have server meshing. We don't have anything, right? That is foundational to make the game a reality. So the idea of things being concrete for potential new people or people who, like, the reason people buy spaceships is, I think, for the most part, is because they don't really know what they need. They don't know what they don't need. They have their own ideas. And the only reason that they're able to create those ideas is because of the vagueness of what Star Citizen even is. So it is a big part of their funding model to not share what the project is. And that is so shitty.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I hadn't thought about it like that. If it's ambiguity drives marketing and marketing drives sales, that's definitely an interesting take. And
I think they think that, but I'm gonna do some quick math on my calculator for a second. I started playing 7 Days to Die for the first time ever, surprisingly. It's about as old as Star Citizen. Somebody said they sold 13 million copies in the 10 or so years that it's been around. 13 million. That's a lot. There's 3 million backers for Star Citizen only in comparison. It's quite a big difference. Let's assume the game is, I think it's $25. Let's assume it was at $20 because of some sales. That's $260 million. Is that, I may be completely wrong, but most games that would be deemed successful make similar amounts of money to Star Citizen that have incredibly small scopes in comparison to what Star Citizen is, because they have something playable and they have something good and they have something that you kind of know what you're getting. And there are plenty of gamers out there, right? And Star Citizen is trying to appeal to all of them, and by doing that, they're actually appealing to none of them. And that's the part that that is like, I think that they think what they're doing is a good idea, but I think in reality, if you communicated what your actual game is, then you would have a much better understanding. Something's going to pop up over you real quick for a second. Somebody gave me the actual revenues for 7 Days to Die in chat.
And it's all about what's that ROI. You know, if it's a publisher or an investor, you know, that money, it may be similar to Star, but they may have made their money tenfold, whereas Star Citizen doesn't have that.
I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me what it is in chat because I'm blocked by this. But the revenue estimate is $69 million through Steam. So yeah, that's significantly less than what I thought. But I don't think that changes my point of view on it. Is like, I always go back to Valheim. Valheim had 5 million purchases within a month.
Yeah, and out of that 69 million, if it cost them 1.2 to make the game or whatever it is, then they're good.
Yeah, but they're also a game that was release date December 13th, 2013, and it's still in alpha, right?
Yeah,
and it definitely plays like one.
Yeah, that's. We play that every day in Star Citizen.
Yeah. So, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add or anything, Steve, but we're getting a pretty long queue now. So, I would say if you have any final thoughts, it would be a good time to share them.
No, I think we've covered everything, Mike. It's been great talking with you, and
it's a pleasure as always.
And it's always appreciate your insight.
Sounds good. All right, bro. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one, sir.
You too. Bye-bye now. All right, and our next caller is Qualms. Qualms has definitely been a caller before on the show. It's been a little while, so hello, Qualms. How you been?
Hey, Mike. How are you? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. As good as he can be these days.
Yes.
Yeah, last time my mic was striking. That's why it's been a while. And then you had ATCs that didn't interest me when I had time, and the ones when I was interested, I didn't have time. So.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you're here. Yeah. So what interests you the most? We should start with that out of the kind of two topics that I gave.
I think I have a bit on both. But let's start a bit from on the roadmap part, because the thing that make me wonder or afraid, I can't really put the finger on it when I read that, and when I actually looked into Spectrum afterwards, is it shows a bit that I guess that ZRG has tremendous amount of technical depth and a tremendous amount of growing pains. And since my own company just passed by the 100 people mark in last year, and I really see how we are working and how we're trying to fight and integrate, suddenly more new people. And then I look at what ZRG has been done over the last years. There has to be a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
The thing is I never was a big fan of the 4 quarters ahead release view. For me, that was always like okay, like the weather report for the next 2.5 weeks, when you know that after 4 days it's basically a gamble. It's like, okay, this is coming in. And I thought, like, oh wait, how do they know? How do they get there? And funny enough, I had the feeling that it has gotten worse and worse and worse over, I would say, the last 2 years. There was this thing when they changed it and Aaron came online, and the first months or the first quarters it was working, and then suddenly it really started to deteriorate pretty quickly.
I'm convinced that staggered development has never been a thing.
No, that wasn't,
because
nice.
Every previous quarter they blame the last, like the delays for the next quarter are always blamed on the last quarter. Wasn't that the whole point of staggered development, dude? Oh, and by the way, Qualms, I think you have like a pen in your hand that you're clicking or something. It's just coming through the mic a lot, and it doesn't sound great.
Okay.
I apologize. Right,
sorry about that one. Yeah, I stopped playing with my hands then. Yeah, okay. what I see, and this is a bit of a corporate world problem as well, is I think they have tremendous amount of problems in the back end. I think the back end is not catching up. And if you look what they have been told in and if they would look what they have been told in the sprint reports over the last and the monthly reports over the last years, is there's, from my point of view, and I mean in my line of work I deal a lot with simulation for mobile robotics, so I have a bit of an insight what's happening on something like Star Citizen. Is they at least scrapped their server meshing technology 2 times. Because there were 2 times where they say, oh, we are close, and the GDC, the dedicated game client, is working here and doing that, and we bring the stuff together, and then suddenly there was absolute silence. What is, I think it's happening is that they can't, the time they have in a server tick, or the resources available for them in a server tick, is filled up to the absolute maximum. So basically they are at a level where they can't put enough new stuff in. But on the other hand, the new stuff actually works. So what they're basically trying to do is they're trying to put the furniture into a house that hasn't been finished, and the rooms of the house change as well. So they have to change the furniture again. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that comes in and that accelerates, I think, the whole thing, and you already touched on that before, is the marketing works pretty awesome. I mean, they must be on a high with their marketing. For them, I mean, this must be a truck rush, like, I don't know, speed to the power of whatever, and they want more. And looking at how this whole card shifting around works, is that I have the big feeling that they always thought that they will get to a certain point on the back end side, which then will allow them to put the card in. And then marketing came in and say, like, hey guys, this is a cool you're doing there. Let's put the that card on the thing, so to create anticipation and to push forward sales and everything. And the developers were most likely more sitting there like, there is this dependency, and when that is fulfilled, it works. And marketing completely didn't do any kind of real client expectation management. That's not happening at CIG at all. Then you have the corporate world where you don't tell other people when you have problems. That's something academia does, but corporate doesn't do it. You
Can
don't
I
tell
stop
about
you for
your
a
problems.
second?
Because
I think they I want to touch on a few things. I think you make a really good point where it's possible that they have scrapped meshing a couple of times, one time, a few times, and are going back to the drawing board and trying to figure it out, because they thought it was going to be out hopefully by the end of or the beginning of the next year. 2 or 3 times now at the past Citizen Cons, right? So I think that makes a lot of sense what you said. But that's if you assume that they are not being malicious. Now, I don't think that they're being malicious, and I think it's always a good rule if you can, I think there's like a phrase or something, like if you can excuse malicious intent with incompetence or something like that, you should go that direction first. And I don't think it's incompetence here. It's just like, sometimes you hit a wall and you need to figure it out. I think they've explained that with like you remember the chicken head that we have now, so we don't have like the bouncing eyes. Like, it took them a really long time to figure out that problem. That is nowhere near as big of a problem as trying to fit an MMO into these servers, most likely, right? That is probably the biggest problem in video game history, is trying to make an MMO work in this thing that they created. So obviously they're going to run into issues. I think that is more likely what happened than anything. I think a lot of the community thinks what Chris said there was maliciously said to keep you on the hook. Most likely not, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think it makes a lot of sense. And then the other thing, I lost my train of thought now because I talked about the one part. What were you touching on there right at the end? A little bit.
No, I lost my train of thought because I was listening to you and thinking how I can reply.
Yeah. Well, I guess reply to that and.
Yeah.
It'll come to me.
I'm with you. I don't think it's malicious. Maliciousness, when you see it especially in business, there's always a level of organization behind it where you can see, okay, they do A, they do B, and then suddenly C pops up, and it's just chaos.
Yeah.
I think that they have fighting structural problems to get their stuff together, and they're sitting on a code base where they don't know how this whole thing comes in together. And don't forget this, they're putting a lot of tremendous amount of things into that project. I mean, I stumbled over a post from the guy when they came out with the character status, where he was like, yeah, I know we are simulating breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And I was like, wait a second, on what level are they working? How much must it be on the server? Because as opposed to my world, where I put 3 or 4 servers in a simulation together, I can trust my second server. You can't trust the client. You have to, in a game, you can't trust the client. So that whole thing, I think they're standing in front of something which comes along. So the server meshing presentation they did for CitizenCon, that concept looks actually as if that would work from my experience there. So maybe we're getting lucky there. The thing is, they have to come around. They have to start doing real expectation management and stop this hype train. And honestly,
that's where can I stop you again? Yep. And I hope try and remember your thought, because that's where I wanted to stop you before. Was and this is why I interrupt people, by the way, sometimes, guys, because if we don't, then we don't have the back and forth discussions on some of the topics. I don't do it to be a dick or whatever.
You have to interrupt me. Everybody, all my colleagues say that.
No, it's okay. I think they are the marketing team is starting to manage expectations better. So if you look at previous, when the patch comes out and they make that stupid video, well, that video is less stupid every time now. The 315 one I thought was very, very representative of exactly what they put in the game and exactly what you can do in the game. Obviously, aside from the amount of bugs that we're dealing with still today, but it was very much a look into what is coming into 315 and what they put in. It was as simple as shooting the laser gun and the guy waking up from a down state, showing that there were loot containers, right? Saying that, if you kill somebody, you can loot them. I thought it was very good on the expectations. The 316 one, I kind of want to excuse them a little bit on that one, because there was the expectation for 316 to be 316, and then whatever happened, a decision was made outside the marketing team, and they decided to go, hey, this is not what 316 can be right now. But the problem is they still put out that marketing video when they should have been like, hey, some things happened, the video was already done, it's not representative of the game, so we're not going to put it out. They didn't do that. So it's like a tale of two sides. I think they want to be better, because when you look at what they showed in that trailer, it's pretty basic, and it is not as grand as they've been in the past, right? Their ship sale trailers are still ridiculous, but in general, when it comes to the patch and what you can play, what's on your client, they're doing a better job of managing the expectations, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's something to it. But I haven't looked at the gameplay, so the patched videos. So I will do that after we hang up, because I thought them to be ridiculous, something like a year ago, and then stopped looking at them.
Yeah.
When it comes to the ship trailers, I like them. I know they are over the top. I know that this is more of an sort of marketing stuff thingy, and I look at them like, and I amuse myself. I never took them seriously. That's why something like the Iron drama, all these things going on, were for me like, okay, yeah, you know what? It's maybe that is have a distance to the whole thing that a lot of other people don't have there.
Yeah.
But, this discussion is going a bit into my second point, which comes into the little icons you showed. This is, and what I guess you could blow that up to its own ATC at some point in time as well, is I think that as the guy before us already said, CRG is lacking where they want to end up.
Yeah.
I think
I think they know. I think they don't want to tell us.
No. And I contradict you there, and I have some points into that one. Okay. I mean it on a more fundamental level.
Okay.
Is that they don't do a good job in world building. Because if you create a science fiction world, there is the visuals, there's the cool ideas you bring in, but you also need to have a level of consistency through your whole thing, a level of your basement, so your assumptions. Okay, we say, look, this is how we solve traveling, this is how we solve shooting, this is how we solve digging your nose. In that respective world, and from there on you branch out. And if you go back and look at good science fiction books or fantasy books or good movies, you see that the ones that are generally liked by people, they have this foundation, and there is a certain set of rules how this world functions. And from CIG, the stuff I see, there's a
still
lot
figuring that out.
Yeah, and a lot of. Have you seen the Pixar movie Up? You know, the one with the guy?
No.
And the balloons? Yeah, that's maybe there are dogs in it that can talk, and they always see squirrels everywhere. So it's always like squirrel, and then they're focused on that one. And I have the feeling with CRG that happens if they see something cool somewhere else. It's like, oh, there's the Solo moving out, and there's ticking time bombs for fuel. Want to have this, want to have that, and completely forgetting that this whole thing has to somehow fit in the universe. And then they had to bang on it for 5 patches until you actually say, okay, now Quantanium starts to make sense, and now we change the stuff error, and now we change the other stuff. The other thing is air shields and the whole airlock thing. The technical depth or the design depth they created because of some ships have airlock, some ships have to vent their whole interior. So even if they, for example, bring up the room systems right now, we will all scratch our heads. Because just imagine the only way to get out of an MSR is open the back. That's a pretty huge room. So if there's any kind of simulated way how to produce air, after opening the back of your MSR, you have to wait for whatever, 20 minutes, half an hour, that the atmosphere is back in. And you see that the really good ship, the last one, the Mole, not the Agumol, you know, the transport ship, not the Mole, the Raft, sorry. Yeah. Suddenly they come up with things. There's several ways to go into the ship, and you can see, oh yeah, something you do when you have, when you're on a planet, something to do you do when you go out. And I think this lack of somebody having written it down and then somebody else, or all of them pushing it into the whole ideas in the company, makes it extremely hard for the people who do the game loops to integrate them on that level already. And then you have to get them, maybe get overly complicated, and the server has to whatever to do for the actor status alone. Like, and there's 50 people with actor status. No.
Imagine selling a ship that's supposed to do something, but not have that something at least gray boxed out in the game engine and figured out if you could do it. The Prospector is one of the best examples. You know, the Prospector was supposed to sift out the inert material in the back of the ship. That's what it was sold to do. And then when they went to design mining, they just ignored that altogether. And now we have this whole stupid system that is... like, hopefully I get lucky and it breaks the way I want it to. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, that's the game
when in reality, the loop should be finding the item, it be challenging to break the rock, and then that's it. That's how mining should work. But no.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to mining, for example, I like it when the green band is really, really small, and I have to sit there and sweat and like, okay, the laser power. But anyway, this is but come again, and that brings me to the profession things that come in. This is what is showed in IC, and I was a bit like you. I looked and they're like, okay, can it be that somebody actually started to close that gap and try to sort out what they want to get in, what the different things you want to do, and how to deviate, and how to where not and where in. And I hope they stick with it. I hope that it's not blowing up, and I hope they somehow get the servers together that at some point they can actually get it into the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still waiting for data running and for. I mean, NPC taxing is pretty clear why it's not working, because they don't get their NPC navigation routing part. I mean, you still see them running around.
They can't
and
even
doing
walk
shit.
through doors. How are they going to walk on a ship?
Well, I think this is, if you do NPC taxing now, the main time you will stand next to your ship and hope that the bloody NPC arrives.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So I don't know, Qualms. It's we're about an hour into the show and through 2 callers, so I would say final thoughts and anything that you may really have on your mind.
Final thought to the roadmap again. I think at the base level, it's a good thing what happens. We get the next quarter. Let's see if they stick to putting stuff in that actually comes in the game. Yeah. And maybe a bit of a jibe at the end. Yes, the communication was extremely shitty, how CIG did it. But on the other hand, I think most people know what kind of noise they actually mean. And if you ever go to Spectrum and go in one of those threads and see how much a couple of people call the devs incompetent, idiotic, stupid, and all the other words. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure they mean those. There should have been somebody telling look, you don't tell that to customers, just kick it out. But I guess the level of frustration after the end of last year with Iron and the stupid drama around the screenshot thing, the desktop background thing for the hover bike. I guess a couple of people were really angry at CIG, which I honestly can't blame them for. No. And that's where you have a good marketing person in front of you who tells you, wait, no, or a client expectation management.
Yeah, I mean, somebody had to approve that thing, and if it's anything like the way people think CIG acts, then Chris Roberts would have approved that message, and he again is the only one to blame at the end if that's how it actually is.
It's always in German we have the saying that the fish starts smelling at the head.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
a good saying. All right, Qualms, we'll let you go here and get to the next caller, but thank you very, very
Mike,
much. It was great. It's been a while. I appreciate it.
It was a pleasure.
Yes.
It was a really pleasure, man. Take care.
Take care. Be good. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
See you.
Our next caller is Disgruntled Bear. Disgruntled Bear, hello.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Doing all right.
So, we kind of had to have 2 topics today, but whatever you're interested in talking about, the floor is yours. So,
all right. So, I mean, I'll touch on the roadmap briefly just to kind of get it out of the way because I want to talk about the fun stuff. But
okay,
I mean, the way they worded it and their response was just totally ridiculous. That one sentence that they had in there, it accomplished nothing other than just pissing off all of the people that weren't already pissed off. Right?
Yeah.
It's unfathomable to me that made it all the way through approval and got published. That's just not how you talk to your community. And
even though we may talk to them in an inappropriate way, and it may have gotten to them at some point.
But I think that's the minority of people. I think that's a small subset of the community.
But they did say that in that statement too, right? It was like the small part of the roadmap watchers or whatever. But
the problem is calling your community noisy. Yeah, the calling your community noisy just increases that minority to now it's the majority. Everyone is pissed off now.
Yeah, it's true.
It was weird.
Very,
really weird. And I mean, I totally agree with you that I think shortening down the roadmap to 3 months it's a good move. The 9-month and 12-month out view of what the game's going to look like was always a fantasy. There was rarely ever anything that made it that survived that long.
Yeah, everybody knew it was a fantasy. So why do it in the first place? It makes no sense.
So I think it's definitely the right direction that they're going in right now. The delivery of it was just weird to me, but
yeah.
And I mean, to your point about that they're being ambiguous about the future Star Citizen, I think it really stems from that they don't want to show how the sausage is made. It's the development is fluid. There's blockers. There's dependencies on other teams, other people. They're working on other things. It's hard to paint a picture of what the future is going to look like when you have all these moving pieces, and that's just not sexy. It doesn't sell spaceships, doesn't sell skins. It doesn't bring in revenue to the project. So being ambiguous is kind of their only option. They've been backed into a corner, and that's just what they have to do right now.
I disagree. Let's touch on that for a little while.
Okay.
I think a lot of other game companies share their grand vision for the game. And their grand vision for the game, even though they're in an alpha stage, an early access stage, or whatever, you know that you're interested in that vision. I think I bought the game Star Citizen because at the time I thought the economy idea of the NPCs are kind of running the economy and you're just living in it. I thought that was a really good idea, and I backed the game because that was the thing that really drew me to it. The more I think about it, the more I don't like that idea, but that's whatever. That is what drew me to the game initially. If you look at a game like Ashes of Creation, they are very clear at what their at least overall bigger picture view of the game is. There's territories, you do stuff in those territories, you build up the cities, so on and so forth. They can go up, they can go down. You can buy houses there. You have an understanding of what you would do in the game. What are you like outside of I'm going to be the greatest miner in history, I'm going to be the bounty hunter, I'm going to do these things? You're making those things up in your head without actually having the vision shared to you to back it up. And I think that's what I have issues for. I know things happen. I know there are issues. But the general idea of how you plan for something like bounty hunting to work or whatever is something that they share occasionally, but they don't do a great job of it. It's all disconnected. There's no place to be like, this is what I want to do. This is what draws me to the game. I'm an FPS player. How will those aspects of the game work for me? Oh, I came from combat sims. What in this game? What does this game have for me? Oh, I came from a traditional MMO. Do they have skills? So on and so forth. I think there's not much being shared that way. And I think we can go back to this past CitizenCon where I think that they did a decent job of sharing what exploration may be like. And that was with that long distance probing, right? And they did a really nice deep dive into what their ideas are with that. And when you have your exploration ships and you go to the game, at least I have a general idea of what exploration may be like. I didn't think it was that good. I didn't like it. So for me, the exploration side of the game, I'm unsure of. But at least I know I'm unsure of it, so I can make the decision of, yeah, I don't think I'm going to buy an exploration ship again. I don't think I might melt mine for the next thing that I do think is interesting, right? So that's what I mean by that.
I hear you. But I think the thing is with Star Citizen is that the vision is so grand and so big, and there's so many parts that they want to implement.
Yeah.
That vision of when Star Citizen is feature complete 1.0 releases, that is so far away that nobody would want to buy into that if they actually knew. And I don't even think CIG knows how long that's going to take, but I think that it is so far away that they couldn't, if they tried to tell us how long it's going to take, we wouldn't want to back the game. And
that we probably shouldn't be backing the game.
Right. It's anyway, I think that's enough about the roadmap. It's making me upset, but
yeah,
I am really excited about what they've talked about as far as reputation in the short term, though. Those icons did excite me to the point where it looks like they're going to be implementing more aspects of that into the game. They talked about that they're adding in AI hostility. Those are all good things. And
Reputation V2, even that little excerpt about that I hope that's not the whole thing. I hope there's more to it than just that, but even just that is a very welcomed addition to the game, I would say.
Yeah, because I think what Star Citizen is going to have in its end game that's going to be unique to other games is that we're going to have kind of this diversity in the player base that you don't usually get in an end game, right?
Yeah.
In places like World of Warcraft and things like that, you have class diversity amongst 10 classes maybe, and then some race diversity. But in Star Citizen, there's the potential there that with this reputation, we can have this culmination of all these different people with all of these different reputations in different systems and different professions and factions. And I think that that's going to provide a really rich end game. And in a sense, Star Citizen, there is only one game, and that is the end game, right? Because there's no skill tree, there's no leveling other than your spaceship, right? But that definitely excites me. I'm happy to see them working on that.
Yeah, I mean, I do play. Have you ever played like any traditional MMOs, games with skills?
I played a World of Warcraft with my wife a little bit.
Okay.
Not too crazy. No.
Yeah, I mean that's just the feel I get here. Is they're like you get to be the crafter possibly, right? And like the crafter
Right.
for your guild, you get to be the smuggler for your guild is what it looks like to me. It's creating skills without actually having skills, and it hopefully, if they do it right, it'll leave room for your actual skill is what will enable you to get to the high ranks of those reputation ranks. But I'm not confident if they can do that or not. I think we have to see before we can feel that way. But yeah, I think they're just icons, right? But they're not. That's the thing.
Right.
Is when you see them focus on
focus is.
Yeah, if you see them focus on any sort of gameplay aspect and not just something visual. Even though it was just visual, it's like, am I getting caught in this again? Or did they get me again? And
yeah, and so
I will be excited this week. I will no longer talk about these icons until they talk about it again. I don't want to think about them after this week, because if they just showed it and that's all they do is show me the icons, but then they don't give me more, then I know that they're not actively thinking about it or working on it. It was just some silly sprint that they know they could use to get us to feel the way we do now. You know?
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, so one of the changes that I think I felt and that has happened inside CIG is that they're not fighting for that 1.0 release anymore. It seems like they're actually trying to get it to the game to the point where when Squadron 42 releases, it's not embarrassing, that the community's not playing Watch the Roadmap game and playing a Buy the Starships game. They're actually playing the game they developed. Yeah. And it seems like they're fighting for that. I mean, the glimmer of hope that I had was when we watched ISC a few weeks ago and they released all that concept art, and then the very next week they're showing models in game, building that zoo out. I really hope that progress continues on that. And
when he said zoo, that's when I cringed, though. Do you remember the last zoo that we saw?
I know it's.
The last zoo was the room system,
unlockers.
the door panels, hacking, turning lights on and off, all these things. How long ago was that zoo? Where is the zoo? I want to look at zebras and bears and lions and otters. Where are they? They are the zoo's closed.
Yeah,
you can't buy tickets to the zoo.
The zoo's on someone's computer in Germany. It's it hasn't left the studio yet. Yeah.
So people in chat are saying, "Can you explain zoo?" So they call them a zoo. It's basically like this level that they make that has a bunch of things that they're working on. So for example, like what I saw that we haven't seen in game was like there was like a power line, and if you broke the power line, the light would turn off, and there was
they had
hacking
breach tools.
Breach tools to
replacing
break through
fuses and lights.
Yeah, so it was like a way for them to test future gameplay. It's a test map is the best way to describe it, and they show it to us, and then deliver none of the things that they tested. So it's wonderful. We love Star Citizen. We love it, man. We love it so much it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, I gotta say, I love your show. I've been watching since 2016 when you guys were on the Redacted podcast.
Wow.
And we survived the year of 2017 with the year
did.
without a patch.
We did.
Yeah, and it's been great. So I just keep it up.
Thank you.
I've been enjoying your content.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add, or it sounded like that was the goodbye, but I'm not sure. That's why I asked.
Yeah, that was my conclusion. But
okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Disgruntled Bear. I appreciate it, and yeah, that was a good call, and I think you had some really good points. This is first time calling, right?
Yeah, first time calling.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right, we have a famous caller, I would say. ASN, welcome.
Famous.
I would say
Wow,
you're famous.
thank
You're
you so
probably the most frequent, even though you come on less frequently, I think you probably hold the record for being on the podcast the most. Because you used to be the only caller way back when. Remember, you and some other guy. And then I told the other guy, I was like, man, I don't know if we should do the show because it's always the same two callers, so we're not getting like variety and points of view. And the guy just like left and never came back. I felt so bad because I actually loved his calls. It was just, it was kind of like the same thing every week. So it's very, it's pretty awesome when you do come on now because it's like super refreshing too. I'll as always do a little bit of the background thing for you. ASN is I guess I don't know. I'll let you do it. Give your background in game development because I'd rather not get it wrong or get it wrong, and so.
So I started with modding initially, and then went into freelance game development as a soft coder and database research person. So like more like content research, and that led to other opportunities in the games industry until 2019, where I founded my own studio, released my own game, and I'm right now running my own game studio. Yeah. So I've been involved in games for like 8.5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah. Nope. That's the rundown.
Yeah. So, and obviously when you're running your own game studio, the communication to your community for your game is very important and all those things. So it would be incredibly refreshing to see someone who experiences what you do day in and day out, what your experiences are. Just for people in the chat, because they may not know, what's the game studio's name? The game's name is Scissorane, and you can find it on
Torpor Games.
Say it again. I was interrupting you.
Torpor Games is the studio name.
Yeah, and the game is Scissorane, right? I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah, Scissorane.
Yeah. So you guys can find it on Steam. It's actually quite cool. It's how would you describe it? Because I don't want to get it wrong, but it's like a story-based political.
Yeah.
Like it's drama is how I would read it. It's like playing a novel.
It's kind of like exactly. It's a choice-based narrative role-playing game about politics.
Yeah.
From a human perspective, rather than the strategy just numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much more personal, and it's much more about like what's happening in the world right now. But to the other point, we have a lot to do with our community. Our community is actually one of our strengths. We have quite the large base now. We have like 4,000 active members.
Wow.
So it's insane for a single player game to have a community of this scale, and we create a universe and stuff like that. There are a lot of learnings actually I have from Star Citizen and Robert Space Industries and or like Cloud Imperium in general, because one of the key things, and it's I think related to this whole roadmap drama as well, is being honest with your community as much as you can, and acknowledging that sometimes you cannot share certain things, because if you would share them, it would also not help the community, because certain things the community actually shouldn't know, because it could create a wrong perception as well. So it's really about figuring out what to share and what not to share, I think is a key aspect. And for us, like when we can't deliver something, we're super honest, be like, okay, like we're not planning to deliver this to you. Like there is no, like wiggling around. There's no like, oh, we might get into it, like, or whatever. Like it's just not in the content plan. And like we're not doing this until something drastically changes. Like it's super helpful to do this because you don't have to pretend basically in that scenario. And we've had a lot of stuff about localizations, for example, where the community demanded localizations, but it was just too expensive for us to afford, and we were super honest, be like, we can't do this because we have 500,000 words, and that's a lot of money per language, and stuff like that, basically. But about the roadmap stuff, because I want to also make sure the podcast flows well. I looked at the situation, and this is something I mentioned many podcasts ago. Estimates drop to 30 to 40% accuracy after the second milestone. Like this is like standard.
Yeah.
And they knew themselves too when they put the rest of the quarters up there that they won't be able to hit them. So
they're like
whatever
undying need to be open and be different is like, I don't see the point behind it. I don't see the value for anybody.
I think like what I respect is, compared to the size they have, the fact that they're sharing disciplines and roughly the tasks they work on, I still count that as a positive.
Okay.
What I don't count as a positive is if they put them in these milestones that are 3 quarters ahead. Like that's just because
what if you call it a progress tracker when it's a Gantt chart?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's
not really a positive either.
Yeah, no, not. And they've been around, like all around the place regarding the subject since 2019.
Yeah.
I remember because at the SitCon I attended in Manchester, it was the same subject was going around. Like they're going to add a new roadmap. They're going to communicate better what they're working on every team and release quarters and stuff like that. They did improve, like when you think about it from back then, for sure.
Absolutely.
But they did not improve quick enough, as in their delivery. Like the real pain point of the community is the delays of key game components and the amount of content, or like the focus of content they really enjoy. They get delayed, so the community gets frustrated. This is just another opportunity for the community to get frustrated again and CIG to fuck up once again.
Yep.
Because they are definitely not being super honest with the community at times. Like they're trying to avoid certain things because they're actively making money every day.
Yeah.
And they don't want to lose on this revenue. It is a sad fact that like at the end of the day, a lot of the things for these corporations turn into business. But I think that is the kind of like the strength of crowdfunding and people like Chris to come forward and cut through all the bureaucracy and just tell it how it is sometimes. But for some reason he hasn't been using that, and every time he did use it in the past, it's been more to the negative.
Yeah.
Hasn't been super positive either.
Yeah.
So that power is not being wielded as smoothly and efficiently at times. While you could also very well argue that it is through that interaction that the project got to this point as well. So it's like there's no like clear negative or positive. It's just like both sides of this issue exist. So going towards like the future, definitely never. Like I mean, everybody agrees. The way they talk to the community felt like they're like talking down on the community.
Yeah.
The words they used.
Like, we've been trying to teach you about game development, and you still don't understand.
Yeah, and it sounds like an echo chamber talking. Like, and I do completely understand, by the way, once you're inside a structure of like 800 people, and you rarely, think outside the box, it might feel like you're being bombarded by some type of information for multiple years because you're a crowdfunded project. I do understand these things, but exactly that is why you have a marketing department, you have PR people who say like, guys, like, we might be getting flack on features. Like you might be, getting some not so nice messages for like, months and months and months and months. But whatever we say right? We got to be responsible, not just for ourselves, but also for the community, for the health of the community. And we got to make sure we communicate this extra carefully.
Yeah.
But multiple times it has happened that CIG is disappointed in this fact and turning its strength to its weakness. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think that's a very good point. Is their strength is absolutely now becoming their weakness. And I think part of it is things that are out of their hands is... I don't think that they've, stopped trying to make the game a possibility. I think that they've, hit a few walls, and what do you do if you can't go forward because you can't fit any more onto a server? What do you do if you can't go forward because you can't put any more players in a server? They've been in this like holding pattern, just waiting forever, and that situation is not entirely all on the funding model or other pain points that we're upset about. It's just seems like it's just a problematic situation, and it's nearly impossible to get out of.
Yeah, and it's the technical challenges, right? It always kind of comes back to the situation they found themselves with this engine and the scale of the project they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And how do you maintain all of this while everything's going forward? Well, this is like what you sign up for, isn't it? Like when you say you're going to make a grand project, this is literally the key thing that makes this grand project happen. And you need to be able to embrace this and own it and share it, and kind of this is one of the points of all of this, is that it's an MMO and all this stuff, right? And the communication on how this is being developed has also not been that great. I think it's much more better because the trust that has been kind of lost to all the backers that are now inactive, the ones who backed and were not even checking the project, and also the type of backers like us, like me and some others who are still looking now once in a while, but they're waiting for a major thing to happen.
Sure.
And also everybody who's going to come in and eventually get worn out by the alpha. It's good just to be super honest. Just be like, hey, we're knee deep in this tech stuff. Here's a status update. Here's another status update. Here's another status update. Just show us how that's going forward. And the roadmap is actually not a bad tool to do so, but not with the quarterly view. With the other view they have, the detailed teams and their breakdowns and stuff, the progress stuff. Yeah, exactly. They should change the name of that for sure.
Yes.
But it kind of shows you roughly where they are. And at the end of the day, if that is the case, if that is a true accurate representation, then use that for that. So that when the community is like, okay, where are we here? Here is a rough guess where we are. That it's right there. It's not going to land on the patch because it's just a big thing, but here is the rough timeline of it. And it's not a promise. It's nothing. These teams are working on it. We got 15 people dedicated to make this work. And we got 2 people, engineers in each team dedicated to make this work. In total, 80 people are working on this. Whatever the case may be, just communicate this. So we just know it's a battle that's being fought, instead of just being quiet until every SitCon. And then suddenly, we hear back again, oh, there's a nice presentation with animated graphics showing us how the tech will work, which is great. We need that. But what about every quarter? What there must be huge updates every quarter. What are these coders doing? What are these engineers doing? They must be working their ass off, and nobody can see that, right? Yeah. That's the other part of being a programmer. Is even the thing is nobody really evaluates your code. I mean, we don't have to, obviously, but it would be nice that they also get some limelight under this, because that's the cool thing about open development, that they can share this stuff and they could highlight these people as well. There's just so much opportunity. It depends on what your focus is. If your focus is constantly selling ships, obviously these things become less important, for sure. And I do understand that everybody wants to watch programmers tackle a massive technical challenge, but why not once in a while? That's what the community is excited about. If the tech is what will unlock the game, I would also focus a bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important to the community to communicate progress. And I think that the progress tracker doesn't do that. And I think you do make a good point. It's like, what's going on with server meshing? Every quarter, we should have an update on what's going on. Even if that update isn't good. Even if that update is like, man, we're really hitting a snag on one of these features of server meshing. It's not working out right now. So we're kind of, having meetings, going back and forth, trying to figure out this problem. That's what we're dealing with right now. Mm-hmm. All right, cool, man. Thanks for the update. Appreciate it. Glad you're doing something, because the just complete and utter silence on nearly every major pillar to this game, orgs 2.0, all these things like are just non-existent. And I get that there's only so many people working at the company, but we know that server meshing is a big part of their report, of their I'm reading chat at the same time, is a big part of their I don't know, their communication, or it's a big part of their game is server meshing, and it's a big part of their focus and priorities right now. So we should hear an update on them quite regularly. And somebody in chat said, isn't that the monthly report though? Here's the problem with Star Citizen's communication is that it is in a small paragraph in one or two parts of the monthly report. And I don't know if CIG is doing the board gamer way of making a YouTube channel, right? Is post something every day. And they want to have content every day, and they do content in all sorts of different ways to put that communication out there. And, it's the lore post on Tuesday, it's the roadmap update on Wednesday, it's this thing on Thursday, and on, every month there's the roadmap update. And I think the problem is that there's too many things to follow, so nobody knows what's going on. And it would make sense to, if you want to know what's going on with server meshing, there should be an easy way to search that, find that, and have that communicated to you. The progress tracker, unfortunately, is not that. So, and I think that's where most people would go to search for that. But I do believe that the monthly report, the sprint reports on ISC, and one other thing that's escaping me are actually the progress trackers of the game, because they're writing down exactly what they're working on right now at this moment, or at least in the last month.
Yeah. The details there are really nice. And this is a large, massive project. There are multiple ways of transferring information, and each have a different channel and purpose, right?
Yeah.
And this is how SIG got here. By the way, this is also a success that they, through community feedback and iteration, that there are multiple ways and needs of delivering information about this crowdfunded project. This is like, a lot of studios don't even get this far, right? That's the other part. There's been a lot of progress to get to this point with the monthly reports, with the weekly roundups, with these public channels of information. These are all good things. It's just they need to be utilized better, and the communication around them just needs to be a bit more smoother. I mean, somebody just asked, would I apologize if something like that, we made something wrong? Every time there's a bug report on after release, especially because we had some very bad bugs, not too many. It was affecting 5% of the player base, but we would start the sentence with "sorry that you've encountered a bug." This is literally, this would be our comms, like, sorry, because this is our mistake. Shouldn't have been. You ran to it. There was a small chance it happened to you. Okay, let us fix this. We would we would manually edit the save games of people that encountered the database bugs, so they could continue their playthrough without interruptions until we hotfix patch the next day.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, if you really care about your community, you just go out of your way and you do things like beyond what a normal person working at a job would do. Yeah. Depends on how much you love your job, right? And SIG can easily say, hey, be honest. Like, we know the community is frustrated because we're late on a lot of things, and it's been an accumulated thing, right? But we're working very hard to keep up and keep the community maintained, grow it, and get all these features online. Like, this is a super normal thing. We're all human at the end of the day, right? There's no point in adding this massive wall between the community and the developer for such a crowdfunded project that they technically wouldn't exist without a crowd. Yeah. Like, you could argue that, like, what I did, we didn't have a massive following before we launched. We had like 200 loyal followers, but Like that's nothing. And we weren't crowdfunded either. Like we didn't need the community to be created, but we obviously need a community to grow and like, obviously have a good time creating content. So you have some feedback loops.
Sure.
But CIG absolutely depends and was created, molded, and together with the community became a company and is trying to make Star Citizen and Squadron. Like this is a nearly a symbiotic relationship. And the more honest the developer is, it also creates more trust for the backers and like the supporters of the project. So I think there's a lot of value in honesty and just approaching things more straightforward than hiding behind a lot of things. Because if you're already gonna say like noise and like what was the exact term?
Roadmap watchers.
Yeah, as if that's like it sounds as if it's a bad thing.
You're supposed to watch the roadmap. That's the point.
Yeah, like wasn't it? Yeah, it's mind-boggling to me. Yeah. It's mind-boggling to me. Maybe they just need just a reassessment of their values and priorities for the future. And I think this podcast really helps convey that message. So thank you for having this.
You're welcome. I think the last thing before I let you go, I guess, because that sounded like a goodbye as well, was I think that their value is because they're in that hover mode state for trying to just get the foundations of the actual game engine in while not slamming in features that are going to have to get redone, is the amount of people that they need to hire to do it while also making Squadron 42 and other things is so much that they need the thing that they have to do is they have to keep funding in order to keep the project going because they want to make the product. And
the logic is broken, is what you're saying, right? The logic is in reverse, actually.
It's in reverse. It's not broken because it's like because I don't think the funding. I think the funding broke the game a long time ago, but I think we're still interested in it, even though the ship progression game totally doesn't exist. But because I think we see these icons that come up and that there could be progression through reputation and things like that. But what I'm trying to spin it in a way, because I actually believe this, is that no matter what, I think their heart is still in the right place because they want to make the game. This isn't an NFT pull the rug out from under you and ice beside you and just make $500,000 and leave. It's they're trying to actually make the game. I believe that still. Sadly, I don't know why, but I do. And
no, I agree as well, because there were so many opportunities for them to pull out, right? And there were so many ways of just bailing on this, and they're maintaining and they keep going. But the mentality of a game developer should be more. I mean, this is obviously a perspective opinion. Everybody has different, lifestyle goals and like strategies on how they approach life. But my point is, I want to be connected to whatever I produce. So, as in, I want to have a connection that is beyond commercial, beyond the other means of material means. I want to have a spiritual connection to what I produce. I want to give it my all. I want to be proud. And I want other people to see the quality and all the stuff that I produce with this passion, with a team that is like-minded, right?
Yep.
So the IG's prime goal always should be to make a great game that they're proud of, right? And that's that's the prime goal. And to achieve that, obviously, you need revenue. Obviously, you need a strong community because it's a crowdfunded project and this stuff like that. And with this logic, whatever you do, and Chris did keep to his vision, even though production-wise, a lot of people argued against it because it's massive. It is heading close to that direction. But sometimes it feels like the idea of making revenue trumps the idea of making a good game or a great game, or a game that they actually love, like Chris wants in his the way he wants it in his head, and all the other devs who are taking charge of this. Yeah. So that's where the priorities, I think, are turning around. And by the way, they're in a financially very comfortable situation, right? Me and my company, we're in a much more dangerous situation than CIG is. CIG has so much more resources. They have stability. They have a growing revenue. They don't have to be super worried about these things anymore. There was a period when they were, by the way, financially speaking, but they're past that threshold now. Yes, there are still obviously future concerns, but they're at a stage where they just got to deliver a good game on time and on each quarter, if possible, more features and things that excite the community. And that's all they got to do.
Yeah, and that's my focus always on like the things that I'm passionate about is just shifting that focus in that direction as much as possible. Please, 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 please. Let's take what we have, let's make it better, let's improve on what we have, and deliver a few new features here and there as you can in a good state to the point where, like you said earlier, when Squadron 42 says comes out that Star Citizen doesn't look like a joke, right? This is very, very important. It doesn't have to be this complete finished product, but it can't be a joke, and it still is a complete joke and will be until we clean up a lot of the issues that we have. So, yeah.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't want to as you said, I completely do believe that these people are super passionate because, you met a lot of them. I met a lot of them. Yeah. I had the chance to talk to a lot of the management team multiple times. They took all my serious questions seriously and they answered them with passion and interest. They weren't these people, they're there, they're doing the things. It's just, we're here as backers and as supporters of the project to just tell them, you might do things better this way. And think about this when doing this, because, this is the cool part about game development. We don't live in 1998 anymore where, games were just made in a small studio. They would never see the light of day. And then suddenly it's out on a physical copy and you can't even drop feedback online.
Yep.
So this is a new age. And this is the strength of this game age is this very thing of feedback. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
cool.
All right, ASN, thank you so much. And obviously your perspective is very unique and just brings so much value to the show. So thank you as always. And I hope you have an amazing 2022 and looking forward to seeing more stuff from you guys.
More things.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the reason why I haven't been around is because I'm
very busy.
And I'm currently going through some really, really big things, big career-changing things, possibly.
Okay.
I'm working really hard and making something that is even grander than before.
Nice.
I'm trying. I might fail, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And then we'll see how life turns out after that.
Good luck. Good luck.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a good one, all.
All right. Thank you, ASN. And if there's anything you need, don't hesitate. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on. Bye-bye. All right. Deathhammer. Deathhammer, welcome. Hello, hello.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Sorry for the wait. I know it's quite a long time.
No problem.
Get through some of the calls. But, so, roadmap, icons. You can obviously respond to anybody who's been on the show earlier and maybe some points that they made. So feel free. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, starting with the roadmap, I do agree with the idea that, reducing the progress that's only 3 to 6 months out was a good idea.
Yeah.
And that is because they don't know what's going out 3 to 6. They have a vague idea. It's like predicting the weather, so to speak, inside, so they can only see 3 to 6 months. So I think that's a good idea.
Sure.
The response, of course, was bad.
Yeah.
But I feel like part of the reason it's getting bad is because the company's starting to get so big that the bureaucracy that's in there, things are not talking to each other. Things are a little bit tone deaf. I actually think because they're so
now.
Exactly.
Even
and
Jared.
The way there's
everything is so corporate now. And but the kind of refreshing thing about the roadmap and as badly worded as it was, at least it had some emotion. At least it had some life. Even though they were pissed off at us, at least they showed some passion and life and something there. As bad as it was, it wasn't just dry, dead legalese.
Yeah, thank goodness on that. But so that's probably. But the one thing I wish I could have from the roadmap is a simple checklist. A checklist of what was done.
Yep.
And all the items of what they're looking to be. Bonus points if there's things linking, this is dependent on that, but if they can't do it, a simple checklist that shows between now and either the end of server mesh to the next milestone, like server meshing or beta or even 1.0 would be one of the things I just ultimately want. I don't want any dates. I don't want any, times where it is. I just want a checklist. And that they either got it done, they're in progress, or it's paused in progress, or this is what they think is what's going to work. And that's all I really want. That between that and, the Gantt chart that they have, it would be a little helpful, but I find, of course, the monthly report's the most useful, and that's what I focus on the most and try to read between the lines.
Yeah, and I get in trouble sometimes, like commenters will point this out, is when I say nobody cares about or things like that. I'm not speaking for everybody, obviously. When I say nobody cares about it, I'm just speaking for myself, and that's what you're doing as well. But you and I agree 100% is when I look at something like a roadmap or I'm looking at something like the progress tracker, I'm looking for how are you progressing in the feature that interests me? When do I think it's going to come out? When do I think I get to play it? That's really the only thing that matters to me when I'm looking through that specific type of information. When a designer gets on ISE, I want to hear exactly how they think this thing is going to work in the short term and the long term, so we can talk about why I think that might be good, or why I'm excited about it, or why maybe I'm not, and why I don't think it'll be that fun. And these are the reasons why. I think it goes back to the last caller. The positive things about open development are really starting to shoot them in the foot, and they're using them in a not so positive way.
Yeah, the one thing I wish I could have heard from your caller, and I don't know how connected he is to other game developers and studios, but I'd really be curious on when it comes to engine development. When you're doing a AAA sized engine, how many years does it generally take? Because I've always had in my head the idea that engine development takes about 5 years to do. And I really don't consider that engine development starting, for CIG, the company, until 2015, when they hired up the when they opened the Frankfurt office and poached the developers from the people who did the CryEngine to CIG. So as far as for me, CIG, the real development of the game didn't actually start until 2015 when that office came into creation. Everything else before it was learning how to be a game company, learning how to put itself together and stuff like that. So to me, I know people say it's been 10 years in development, but really for me, I don't think realistically development internal to CIG didn't truly start until 2015.
Okay, and yeah, I mean, that's all, we hear those kind of things in the community all the time, and everybody has a different date of when it started. But just so you know, he's still in chat, and he said it depends on the features. He knows 2 studios that did their own engines, but CIG is making 6 games in one engine, and that's the last thing he said so far. So obviously they're doing a lot, and it's hard to say, I think, how long it should take to answer your question.
Right. So,
but yeah.
So then that, and also the fact that they're running a live service on an engine that's incomplete. And I can only imagine the complexities just because of that.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's a pain in the ass. This isn't a good situation for anybody. It's basically why I say, let's take what we have now. Let's try to make it as good and interesting as possible. I understand that bringing major features into the experience during this point, while you don't have the foundations of the game engine really ready and raring to go, are kind of problematic. So that's why I kind of look at all right, well, can you take what we have now and make something sort of fun? And I think they can, and I think that would make the wait for the engine development a little bit easier for me, and I think it would take a little bit of pressure off of them. And let them kind of do their thing. And that's that's sort of what I've been trying to push for lately. I don't think anybody necessarily has to agree with me. I think a lot of people don't agree with me. I think that they should make the game and put the features in the game, and I totally respect that and understand it. And it's just a matter of what your pain threshold is. I've reached mine, and I also look at the game and see the potential for what's there now. And go, yeah, I think our game could be like a cool DayZ in space kind of thing. We can kill each other, we can loot each other. There can be some points in the Stanton system where we all come together and do just that. And yeah, we can just let it go. And that's kind of how I look at it. But that's my opinion, and that's only mine.
Yeah, and then one of the things that stick out all, like, why are we making such a complicated engine, and why have, all this, why do we have all these advanced AIs and stuff? There's something that kind of occurred to me, a little while back, where it came back down to this, is CIG making a game, or are they making sci-fi life simulator 2950X or whatever like that? And what I mean by that is, what's more important? What's the emphasis of what it feels like in their development? Do they have a plan of, we want this loop to happen this way? Or are they wanting to have the systems like, no, or is it, we see all these cool systems that we want to put in, and then the game loops kind of organically emerge out of those loops? And the problem, my opinion is, it feels like what they're making, especially when you hear the idea of like the coffee vendor AI and these different AIs that do all these advanced things, which it makes you wonder, why is that so important? Why is it important to have all the diegeticness that they talk about and all that? The reason I come back to that is it feels like Chris Roberts' vision comes in like pictures of scenarios, where he has this picture of the scenario of where all these crazy things happening. Does it take to make those systems work? And then, which happens to be very generalized, which requires these very generalized, very complicated systems. And the rest of how it connects together to get those scenarios, I think, is vague. Feels like it's vague in his mind, and they're kind of like taking those snapshots of vision, and everyone else under him is trying to connect the lines between that until they actually get something. So to me, the problem with that development is, and this is what I feel like, is until like the vast majority of the systems are working, you're not going to see the game loops that are going to come in. But once they start reaching that point, I feel like it'll come very quickly. At least that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, but at what point does, like, I mean, there's just a pain threshold for everybody about how long they can wait, and I think we're starting to hit that with a larger and larger percentage of the community, no matter how many are joining. It just feels like they're getting louder and louder and louder. I mean, when I was on the Redacted podcast years and years ago, almost nobody agreed with what I have to say. Now I'm getting called based and, oh my God, you're the only real blah, 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 like constantly now. And it's like, I've never wavered from my opinions from 2015 until now. It's just more people are starting to get tired of the state of the game when I was tired of it 5 years ago. And it's just, I think that's what's happening more than anything. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. It's all based in logic, right? It's just at what point do you just get bored of the wait? And like that part of the community is just getting louder and louder and louder, and to the point where even they're annoying me. Like they're because I think I try to hear both sides and try to see the positives and negatives as much as I can in everything. I know I'm a glass half empty type person. It's just who I am. But I do my best to ask why something is happening rather than assuming the worst in every scenario. But man, like it's getting worse and worse and worse every single quarter. And at some point you got to put out something that's playable, that's workable, that's doable. It's got to be something, you know?
Yeah. You see, that's why I think right now, like, why are we seeing all these AI bits? And it's because it's needed for Squadron 42. I get the sense that CIG as a company is like kind of starting to realize that people can only handle so much stress of so much weight for that. And theoretically, they don't need server meshing to do Squadron 42. They technically all they need is the Gen 12 Vulkan renderer, which by the sound of it, it's not that far off.
Yeah.
Once they get that and get the game, like I did take a look at the progress tracker. They mentioned that that the chapters are going to be done by the first quarter, and there's only the tech deck and a few other things that they're still working on. So I get it, since they're trying to race to getting Squadron 42 out to kind of revitalize Star Citizen as a whole with something released. But that at the same time, the tech people are working on getting server meshing done, because I think the pain point will start coming off once we start seeing, at least that's my belief, once server meshing starts being implemented, because then they can start adding content again.
Yeah, hopefully. And I think,
so that's what I'm hoping.
I think if they deliver Squadron and they're not at that point, I think it'll do the opposite, where the pain point would be massive. Because if you deliver Squadron and the story's pretty good and you bring an influx of people into the game and it was at least something to play, if it's good, it should leave you wanting more. And the place you go for more would be Star Citizen. And if you can't get more there, it would be incredibly frustrating. People would lose their minds. Now, every MMO has, like, the community ends up hating their game, I feel like, at some point. It just is what it is. And I think, like, we're starting to get there before the game even comes out. So hopefully they have something to bring us back and make us love it again. But
yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, get server mesh, get at least server meshing, this road, to me, what they call this road to pyro, to me, I call it the road to me, it's the road to server meshing that's important. Because I think that's what's going to make or break the game. Everything else...
Once they finish server meshing, they want to have something to deliver with it. Obviously, that's pyro. The people who make pyro don't make server meshing. So, like, it all makes sense. It's just the way they communicate it. It's such dog shit. Like, don't tell me road to pyro like it's going to be a thing soon, because that's how you make it sound. Oh, that's our focus right now, guys, so expect it to be coming. But there is no guarantee that they're going to resolve the issues they have with server meshing to make it a reality. Nobody even knows. And if you don't, then what do you do? So it's just like, oh my God, like it's just they just continuously make the same shit mistakes over and over again to create false expectations of what's real. And I'm not the only one that deals with these false expectations, because Jared had to literally communicate it to SCL this week. Everybody was like, oh, he said road to pyro, that must mean it's coming this year. Like, we're not stupid people, okay? You're creating the expectation. So who's stupid when you get mad at people for having the expectations that you create? It is what it is. It's you're the stupid ones. So
I mean, be careful with those sound bites. That's what gets them. That's what gets them in trouble.
But then if they're not, then where's the personality? Like, I want Jared to be Jared. I want him to have fun. I want him to be himself. But that doesn't feel. It feels scripted. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like him.
It does make me wonder how much influence he had when that post was involved in it. It makes me wonder.
Yeah,
but
who knows?
I don't want to drag this out too much longer. Basically, the thing that still stands out for me right now is, when does server meshing come in? That's what I really want to know.
Same.
And then I kind of want to see what is the overall vision. And I get the sense, like I say, I still feel like what they're making, based off what I've heard and what I'm seeing in terms of development, is they're making Star Citizen be sci-fi life simulator 29 something, where the more importance is implementing the systems, and they're hoping the game mechanics kind of organically come out of it. And that, to me, is, I feel, the most point. But the problem is, that means those game mechanics and that fun part comes more at the tail end. At least that's what it feels. Because if they were making a game, they would be strategically cutting corners to achieve the fun aspect, but they're not cutting those corners, is what I believe.
Sure, that makes sense to me.
So anyway, that's kind of where I stand on it, and I will, not to keep you any longer, I'll end my conversation there.
All right, Def, have a great one. Thank you so much. First time caller, I think, as well. So very good call. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a good one. And from one first time, I think we're coming to another. Boone, I think you're a first time caller as well, right?
Yeah, I'm a first time caller.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, and you're our final caller for the day. And yeah, so I know you had a long wait here, and I appreciate you waiting. So you have the floor. Anything you want to talk about is for you. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a little bit newer to the community. I started playing in early summer in 2021.
Awesome. Okay. Cool.
And so for me coming in, looking at the roadmap, it was always kind of weird that CIG set themselves up for failure, dropping stuff off the roadmap every single time.
Yep.
And more recently, since then, I got one of my friends in the game, and he was super looking forward to salvage, and it was a weird conversation being like, don't really count on it.
Don't get excited for that. Yeah.
Right. It's been pushed back for, like, from what I've heard, 2 years.
I think even longer than that. But yeah, I mean, for me, even like what I consider salvaging would be like going to a ship and taking pieces of it off and using it on your ship or upgrading another one of your ships, something like that. And it's not even that is the salvaging that they're promoting. It's just like scraping a hole and repairing. It's like, this isn't salvage. What is this? So yeah, even somebody who would be excited about it, it's like not even the full kind of experience that you would expect anyway.
Right. But I mean, he was seeing the other things of the game, so I don't know how high his hopes were for the initial rollout. But yeah, so I was surprised that they kind of just always drop stuff off the roadmap, because even if you're not what they referred to, like the small minority of the community, it does feel super bad when the feature that you're looking forward to keeps getting pushed back.
Yeah.
So I think this was overall a positive change. Okay. Now, they worded it really weird, kind of blaming the community.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, just acknowledge that, hey, we cannot accurately predict this, so we're kind of pulling back, so...
Yeah, because we want to create, like, positive, realistic expectations instead of creating incorrect ones. And it's the same, by saying that, you're saying the same things, is you guys don't understand game development. When we put something out here, you create these expectations that you get excited about this thing, and then when it inevitably falls off, as it will, you get upset. Like, you don't have to say that part. It's just, we were creating false expectations. That's kind of on us, and now we're going to, manage expectations properly. Easy. They can blame us without blaming us. In the end, like, yes, it's on us, but it's also on you,
Right, and I think they would get rid of a lot of the backlash from this, because everybody at the end of the day knew that you can't really count on anything in the roadmap at all.
Yeah.
So it's basically the same way it was before, just without, maybe tricking some new players or people that don't know better into thinking that something's coming down the line.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to read 3 paragraphs of Why I'm Stupid before I got to see what was falling off of 317 this quarter. It was just weird. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what their process is for writing that, but they probably need to.
Yeah, it just seemed emotional. It just seemed like it was an emotional process. And like I said earlier with one of the other callers, at least they showed some emotion, but it wasn't the kind of I'd like to see in the future.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, because you really like CIG to feel like a human company, because it's crowdfunded and you feel so involved and everybody's so kind of emotionally attached with spending so much money on ships. But at the same time, you don't want CIG just to go out there and be like, this is your fault.
Yeah. It's like, it's not my fault that you've been developing a game for 9 years now and don't have much to show for it. How can that be mine? Like, that's what we're frustrated about. Come on, man. Just is what it is. But I don't know. Since we're coming to the end, Boone, I don't know. if how much you have to add. So I'm trying to steer you in a direction. But is there anything that really stuck out that for you that you want to touch on other than what you have already?
No, I've been here for quite a bit of the show, and
I know.
most of the other callers touched on the other stuff. So
it's tough being the last one. I'm sorry.
Right, yeah, I had the time sunk fallacy where it's like, well, I've been in here for a while, might as well come on and say a couple things. But I really do appreciate what you do with the show and giving the community a voice. I'm
trying. Yeah, I mean, did you watch ISC this week? As somebody who's new coming to the game in the last like year or so, is it exciting to see potential career paths in a way of reputation? If you caught that yet?
Well, I didn't catch this ISC, but
okay.
As for me right now, I only backed the game more recently because I felt like I could get my $45 worth out of the game in its current state. So,
what did you end up backing with, and why did you feel like you get your money's worth now?
Well, I started off with Aurora. I kind of bumped it up to Gladius because I was enjoying the game a lot, and I wanted to show support.
Good. And what did you like about the game? What really drew you to finally make the jump?
Well, it was the Elite Dangerous Odyssey launch, but then I started looking into it more heavily, and I thought, hey, they got bounty hunting, they got PvP, they got all this other stuff I think I can enjoy and get my money's worth out of the game. So
it was the bad Elite Dangerous Odyssey launch that drew you to Star Citizen?
Well, I've kind of always low-key kept an eye on Star Citizen.
Okay.
But I was playing Elite Dangerous and having a lot of fun with that, so...
it was the good Elite Dangerous launch, and then it was kind of like the gateway drug into SC a little bit.
Right, so that kept my eye on it, but then when they had the bad Odyssey launch, I really looked into it because I was really frustrated with Elite Dangerous.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I understood it correctly the first time then. Yeah, I mean, Elite's a tough one, man, because of... Both games have their positives and negatives for sure, and Elite's really struggling right now, I think, and hopefully they can get out of that hole and find their way, because I think the world is a better place with more space sims and space games, for sure. I mean, I've always enjoyed them, and I really hope Star Citizen can kind of pick up the slack where Elite's starting to leave off,
Yeah, hopefully Star Citizen, we just continue to see like more stuff added every year and like an exponential amount of progress.
Yeah.
So we're starting to hit that point where they kind of, if it's not going to be another 20 years, they need to start picking up the pace.
True. This feels like I'm interviewing you now a little bit, but the studio lead from that was talking earlier, ASN, asked you a question in Twitch chat. He says, so how does Boone T see progress speed on development compared to Elite Dangerous with Star Citizen?
I mean, there's not really a lot of comparison because, well, I didn't even buy Odyssey, so I didn't experience any of that content.
Okay.
But Star Citizen, you're getting content every 3 months, pretty much, give or take few weeks. And then in Elite Dangerous, they've been in maintenance mode getting out this new content I didn't even play for the past 2.5 years now.
Yeah, and it didn't even like drop that well. So yeah, and I mean, some people are saying content with quotation marks or whatever, but in reality, it's at least they're delivering something that you can check out every quarter, and there's positives and negatives to that, right? You can go into a hole like Elite did and not add any content to their game for years, and then if the content that they do add doesn't hit, you end up in a situation that they're in now. Or you can do what CIG is doing and trickle out content, and hopefully that keeps people interested too. I don't think either is all good or all bad. It just is.
I mean, like coming from a... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. I'm done.
Like coming from Elite Dangerous, where the only content in the past 2 years has been fleet carriers, which was a pretty good update overall. And then you go to Star Citizen, where you're getting updates like that every three months. It's quite a difference.
Yeah. And I think it sets an expectation to not like I think there was a lot of copium being huffed for Elite Dangerous. Like, Elite Dangerous Odyssey is going to crush Star Citizen and all these things, and this is going to be so great. And because when you wait so long, the expectations get higher and higher and higher. And I think the overall expectations for Star Citizen deal with that massive problem as well. But the general quarter-to-quarter progress for Star Citizen is, I think your expectations end up being much lower than people probably had for the Elite Dangerous release. So, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, my dog's
it's good.
Sees a mailman or something. But yeah, like, I mean, like, the joke around the community was Elite Dangerous is going to be Star Citizen before Star Citizen, and then that kind of did not happen at all.
Yeah, of course, because, I mean, both games just... they fail in their own ways, and I hope they can both succeed in their own ways soon, because competition is good, and right now nobody's really competing with each other. There's nobody's winning in this competition at the moment, and we'd like to see some winning in many ways. So I don't know, Boone. I think it's probably a good time to stop. I think the show's a little over 2 hours now too, which is one of our longer podcasts. I was hoping it'd be like an hour and a half today. But yeah, obviously people felt pretty passionate about the subject, and yeah, hopefully we can get you on earlier, and somebody else can be the last caller and have to suffer a little bit, man.
No, I probably won't wake up early enough to do that. So thanks for having me on.
All right, no problem, man. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it, and yeah, hopefully we'll have you on again soon. I enjoyed the call. All right, I guess I'll let him go because he didn't say anything. There was always like a little delay, as if he was watching on the stream, it felt like. But, guys, thank you for watching. This is the end of this roadmap drama for me. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I want to move forward from this and just focus on the future. I just, like, I'm done with it. I can't deal with it anymore. I couldn't deal with it after the first day, but I thought it was appropriate to be done and do it properly through Answer the Call. I think that is the most important thing. Yeah, obviously until the next drama, what else are we going to do here? There's no game to talk about or play. We obviously are stuck to the silly things that happen all the time. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a nice touch with the icons to talk about that a little bit as well today. So I think that is a good, hopefully a little glimpse into what their plans are for the future. And for me, those plans are bright. So I just hope that it's something that comes sooner than later, and it's not these small little iterations. Hopefully we get a big update to Reputation that really starts delivering on Star Citizen feeling more like a game and less like a playable concept art simulator. So, guys, thank you again for watching. As always, if you're watching on Twitch and didn't catch the whole show, it'll be up on YouTube later today. If you're watching on YouTube, you can always join the show live Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and discord.gg/SaltEMike and twitch.tv/SaltEMike for the live show. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy the Super Bowl today. Let's go Rams. You know, my father was a Rams fan because he was a big fan of Eric Dickerson, and I had the glory of being a fan of the Rams because my dad did during the greatest show on turf with like Isaac Bruce and Kurt Warner and oh my god, the running back's name is escaping me right now. One of the best running backs ever. So yeah, I'm not a big football fan at all, but it's nice to see your favorite team in the Super Bowl. So I hope you guys enjoy that again today, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you for watching, everybody.